Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife were killed in Sarajevo on Sunday, the 28th of June in 1914, at approximately 10:45 a.m. The assassination of Franz Ferdinand was planned and executed by a secret Serbian military society called the Black Hand. They were both shot by a 19-year-old Bosnian Serb named Gavril Princip. The political objective of the assassination was to break off Austria-Hungary's South Slav provinces so they can be combined into Yugoslavia. The conspirators' motives were consistent with the movement that later became known as Young Bosnia. This is the initial event that led to the First World War.
Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria was the heir presumptive to the throne of Austria-Hungary. He was born on December 18, 1863 in Graz, Austria. He was not a good-natured man as he had a toxic personality that ended up in him getting assassinated. He had a passion for hunting, and he hunted over 300,000 different animals. His wife seemed unsuitable to rule this dynasty because she was uninvolved in his work. Him and his family were Catholic and wanted government support from the Pope. The emperor of the time did not like his governing style. He tried to rock the boat and change the stuff that was already in place, like the military and forming new alliances. He also had an odd love for roses and put them everywhere he went and studied them. He wanted universal suffrage for everyone except women. He wanted to get the right to vote for all men. He loved his family very much too, especially his wife. He even said that his best decision was to marry her. He was assassinated on June 28, 1914, but he probably could have avoided it. He ignored warning signs, and his wife even begged him not to go visit.
The Archduke traveled to Sarajevo in June 1914 to inspect the Imperial Armed Forces in Bosnia and Herzegovina, which was annexed by Austria-Hungary in 1908. The annexation had angered Serbian nationalists who believed the territory should be a part of Serbia. As they headed towards their destination, they barely escaped death when Serbian terrorists threw a bomb at their open-topped car. This was their first attempt at assassination. Their luck ran out later that day, however, when the driver unintentionally drove them past a group of young nationalists who had a plan to kill the Archduke during his visit. On June 28th, after some missteps, 19-year-old Princip was able to shoot the royal couple at point-blank range, killing both almost instantly. Austria-Hungary was furious, and with Germany's support declared war on Serbia on July 28th, 1 month later. Within days, Germany declared war on Russia, which was Serbia's ally, and invaded France by passing through Belgium, which then caused Britain to declare war on Germany. As you can see, nationalism played a huge role in World War I. The reason the Archduke and his wife were assassinated by Princip was because he was fighting against Austria-Hungary's rule over Bosnia. These events were caused by countries having extreme pride in their nation and wanting to be the most powerful. This is a picture of Franz Ferdinand, Archduke of Austria, and his wife Sophie riding in an open carriage at Sarajevo shortly before their assassination.
The Black Hand was also known as Unification of Death, which was their motto, or the secret Serbian society of the early 20th century. They were a secret military society formed in 1901 by officers in the army of the Kingdom of Serbia. The Black Hand used terrorist methods to promote the liberation of Serbs outside Serbia from Habsburg or Ottoman rule. It was critical in planning the assassination of the Austrian Archduke Franz Ferdinand, causing the outbreak of World War I. The society was led by Colonel Dragutin Dimitrijevic, and the members were mainly army members with some government officials. It conducted propaganda campaigns, organized armed bands in Macedonia, and established a network of revolutionary cells throughout Bosnia. Within Serbia, it dominated the army and gave tremendous influence over the government by terrorizing officials. They became so powerful that their authority challenged the government. In June 1917, the Black Hand was outlawed because of their violent nature. However, this did not stop them. They created a new organization called the White Hand. It was formed from trustworthy men of Narodna Obrana, which was the Serbian nationalist organization. It continued the imperialistic work of the Black Hand using the same techniques.
Gavrilo Princip was born on July 25th in Bosnia. He was a South slave nationalist because he was born into a Bosnian Serb peasant family and was trained in terrorism by the Serbian secret society. His main goal was to destroy Austro-Hungarian rule in the Balkans and to unite the South slave peoples into a federal nation. He believed that the first step must be the assassination of a member of the Habsburg imperial family or a high official of the government. He found out that Franz Ferdinand, who Inspector General of the Imperial Army, would be visiting Sarajevo in June 1914. Princip, his associate, and 4 other men waited for the Archduke's procession on June 28th. His associate threw a bomb that bounced off the Archduke's car and exploded beneath the vehicle. Not long after that, while driving to the hospital to visit the officer wounded by the bomb, Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie were shot to death by Princip. Princip claimed he actually aimed not at the Archduke but at the military governor of Bosnia. Austria-Hungary held Serbia responsible and gave them the excuse that they wanted to retaliate against Serbia and ultimately started World War I. In Yugoslavia, Princip became regarded as a national hero. It became the South slave state that he had envisioned. After a trial in the town that the Archduke was shot in, Princip was sentenced on October 28, 1914, to 20 years in prison. That was the maximum penalty allowed for a person under the age of 20 at the time of his crime. Before his imprisonment, Princip had an amputation of his arm because of tuberculosis of the bone and died in a hospital near his prison on April 28, 1918 in Austria.
The assassination set off a rapid chain of events that led to the outbreak of World War I by early August. Austria-Hungary immediately blamed the Serbian government for the attack. As large and powerful, Russia supported Serbia. Austria asked for the assurances that Germany would step in aside against Russia and its allies, including France and possibly Great Britain. On June 28th, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, and the fragile peace between Europe's great powers collapsed, beginning the devastating conflict now known as the First World War. In 1879, Germany and Austria-Hungary allied against Russia. Kings of the Triple Alliance signed their agreement in 1882 and added Italy. The nations included were the German Empire, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. All of the entangled alliances created 2 competing groups. After this, Russia responded in 1894 by allying with France. Then, in 1907, Great Britain, Russia, and France formed the Triple Entente to protect themselves against Germany's growing threat. Soon, Europe was divided into 2 groups, the Central Powers of Germany and the Allies, which included Russia, France, and Britain. As war was declared, the Allied countries defended their treaties, and Italy later changed sides. By the end of August 1914, the so-called alliances had caused what should have been a regional conflict to expand all of Europe's powerful nations. Militarism sparked an arms race, although the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand was a spark that caused Austria-Hungary to strike the first blow. All the European powers quickly fell in line to defend their alliances, preserve or expand their empires, and display their military power and patriotism. On June 28, 1919, 5 years to the day after Franz Ferdinand's death, Germany and the Allied powers signed the Treaty of Versailles, officially marking the end of World War I. After years of bloodshed, Germany was the last of the Central Powers to finally surrender to the Allies. At the Peace Conference in Paris in 1919, Allied leaders would state their desire to build a post-war world that was safe from future wars of such an enormous scale. The Versailles Treaty, signed on June 28, 1919, tragically failed to achieve this objective.